Welcome to the bench. We are bench points -1. Our fearless leader, Jake, was picked up by a Delaware County church league. For some reason, church leagues really like the talent that we bring to the table, as Jake actually has a banged up elbow, but they seem to not care. They just really like the talent that he provides. And so he's taking care of business for this week, but we all know he deserves to be on the bench. And that's where he's going to be back next week, Lord willing. So it is just Sam and I today. So we want to welcome you to this great show. We're going to talk about some of the big college basketball what ifs from the past. What if some things would have changed? What if that shot would have gone in? What if a team would have remembered how to shoot a free throw and to make it? Lots of different things, lots of injuries if they didn't happen. Look, we're going to reminisce a little bit tonight and kind of talking about some of the different options out there about just some of the shocking stories, really, that happened in college basketball over the last few years. But we have to mention before we start, hey, we want to hear from you. If you don't like what we say or you love what we say, we want to hear from you. Or if we say something wrong, which we probably will, correct us. Let us know. We can only get better if you let us know. So please engage with us. Please talk to us. Somebody, for the love of God, talk to us. We just want
I've
to be
been
talked to.
married for 11 years. I'm used to being wrong. So
Listen, buddy, I'm a professional at this point of accepting when I've been wrong. So
to me, it's funny how many decisions I make at my workplace that it's just like the most flawless, right decision in that moment.
yeah.
And then I get home and it's just like, I can't figure out how to open a door.
Right. It's like, hey, Google, open door.
Right. Exactly.
No, totally get that. Totally get that. All right. Well, like we do in every episode, we've got to kick things off with bench behavior. And I think we have to address this situation. We don't have to say a lot about it, but it deserves to be in the category of bench behavior. Is Mark Sanchez what I'm labeling as the stab and go controversy? Take it or leave it. It can be what it is. But what a bizarre situation. I text Jake and Sam when this came out because they both live in Indianapolis, and I'm like, this is such a random thing to happen. This is such a random occurrence. But then, was it?
Well, so Indianapolis, from a safety standpoint, I mean, we're not making national news. The National Guard isn't coming in and doing their thing because we have like a skyrocketing murder rate or crime rate or anything like that. But it's also not known for like the safest environment in the history of anything, depending on what area of Indianapolis that you're in. In this case, this is over by Lockmiller's, which is like a local bar here in Indianapolis. Very nice spot. However, there was a delivery driver coming to pick up some oil. Everybody knows the story. But if you watch the video, if you see the surveillance stuff that they got on this, like the dude kind of got thrown across an alley and was like, Mark Sanchez was a former NFL quarterback. I mean, wasn't a good one, but
Nope.
it doesn't change the fact that he was a professional athlete. So this dude's scared for his life. Pepper spray and a couple, knife jabs later, Indianapolis is back on the map and national headline. For all the wrong reasons.
It's almost like he didn't realize. It's like, when you're in like a crowded room or a party or a restaurant, whatever, and you hear something and it's like an insult. Like you hear it and you think it's coming at you, and it's like, was it that guy did that guy just say that to me? And of course, after a zillion beers that apparently Mark Sanchez had, like I almost feel like he thought it was coming from that guy. But I mean, could you not see this guy was, in his late 60s?
Yeah, I think to what you said, like he was drinking a beer and the beer in his hand said, "Did you hear that, Mark?" And Mark was like, "Yeah, I heard it. Let's go do something about it." And the 69-year-old man had something else to say about it, apparently.
God.
Just imagine like the double whammy there is like you wind up in the hospital with stab wounds and then catch a charge from it. So welcome to Indianapolis, Mark. That didn't go well for you the last time you were here in the AFC Championship game. What was that, like 11, 12 to 15 years ago or something like that? I can't remember exactly how long.
Gosh, I completely forgot about that. But as soon as you said that, I knew you were going with it.
Yeah.
God, it has been a while.
It's probably been 16 years.
It's such a random story because I've never really known Mark Sanchez to be anybody that's. Hey, listen, we all make mistakes. Things happen. This just seems so bizarre.
This is your classic F around and find out. Like stupid games win stupid prizes. Like, dude,
Well said.
whatever it is you were doing, just let it go. The guy is an old man collecting oil out in the alley. You have nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with you. Leave it alone. But here we are. Mark Sanchez, in his mind, talking to his Miller Lite, said, what's going on here, Mark? And Mark says, let's go check it out.
No, I think he was listening to Natty Light. I don't disrespect Miller Lite like that. I think he was.
That's a Busch Light moment.
Yeah, I was about to say.
It is not a real men of genius moment.
Miller Lite has spoken much wisdom into my life over my years. But anyway, yes, Boot deserves a spot on the bench behavior segment. Sam, I think you got a standing O as we segue into the standing O segment of the show.
So we've talked about this on a couple episodes before, and as, a Purdue fan talking to Tennessee fans, sometimes it's more like rubbing the salt in the wound with...
I had a feeling this is... Okay.
With Loyola. And we all say it in jest, but we got some unfortunate news this week with Sister Jean passing. And I just want to do a standing O for everything that she brought to that program, the Loyola program, the national spotlight that got put on them when they had their big run a handful of years ago, everything she meant to Loyola, everything that Loyola meant to her.
2018.
Yeah, 2018. I mean, Tennessee was a shocking upset, but they also had another shocking upset. I mean, they were like the Cinderella team that year, and Sister Jean was the face behind it. And regardless of what you want to say about, her, that program, it was a really fun time for college basketball, unless you were a Tennessee fan or an Illinois fan. So rest in peace, Sister Jean, as somebody who's just a genuine lover of college basketball and everything that has to do with it. I thought your moment was really cool, and it was fun to talk about Loyola for a handful of years, and you will be missed on a national stage.
Yeah, no, I mean, as a Tennessee fan, I tons of jokes and jabs and all this at old Sister Jean, but hey, 106 years on this planet is a good run.
Yep, absolutely.
I respect that, and that it was a fun story and still is to reminisce about. I could not have said that for after quite a few years after 2018, because every time I would hear her name, I literally would have flashbacks of that game. I still remember that game very, very very, very vividly, and it is definitely not something I want to dwell on for very long. But 106 years, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it really is, and a faithful fan all the way through, which is pretty coll. I was stepping out of the standing O, but I was thinking about this week, since we did talk about her last week. Who's the coach for Loyola Chicago?
The coach now or the coach then?
The coach then. Do you remember?
That's a hell of a question. I'm going to look that up.
I'm looking up right now because I thought about it earlier, and I just got reminded because I wonder. Well, because I remember them being, because I thought he would be a hot name. But I feel like
Porter Moser.
That's right.
Somebody we've talked about a million times.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Jake did say that. He did say that. I'm connecting those dots now. That did not click with me until pretty much right this moment. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, that's something. With Oklahoma losing apparently or winning against Texas Tech.
Yeah. So
in the preseason, but sounds like there might be some. This is a little side segment of current news, which is awesome, by the way, guys. It is. Hey, we got some preseason. That's what it's. We're in the preseason stages. Exhibition games are happening. Super exciting. But a little twist with Oklahoma apparently pulling out a win against Texas Tech, but it doesn't sound like JT was out there, and I think he's a difference maker.
Fun fact. Porter Moser coaching Oklahoma against Texas Tech, who I think is going to be a top 10 team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a secret scrimmage. I don't know how much was available to the public, how much was able to be viewed or anything like that. According to Reddit, JT Toppin was not playing in this game along with one other player for Texas Tech. But again, it's Reddit. I don't know how much of that is true or not, or how much is like Texas Tech trying to protect themselves from a loss to Oklahoma. To be fair, Jake was on here a handful of weeks ago saying, Oklahoma's real.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting to see because, that's another SEC team that might be stacked. So,
yep.
More to come on that. But the even better news out of all that is college basketball this year. We are like a week away from multiple scrimmages starting. I think 2 weeks away from Purdue and Kentucky.
Yep.
I think UConn, God, UConn scrimmaging against somebody here coming up. I think it's going to be a big one. So we got all sorts of fun stuff coming up.
Yeah, I'm just glad for it to finally be here and start working in that direction.
No, Duke and Tennessee. I think you and Jake are going to that one, aren't you? I know Jake is. Yeah, I unfortunately will not be able to swing that. I put all my eggs into the Purdue Alabama trip. So
Yes, no, same, but I might have to figure out how to make that work. It does help that it's going to be it's going to be televised this time, which is
yep,
pretty cool.
yep.
I think I think it's interesting to just I think it'd be cool to see like a close scrimmage, what that looks like at that kind of level.
So
Like,
it's fun because I got to see it was, I want to say Purdue BYU or Purdue Creighton, and I was able to follow a radio broadcast on it. And I mean, you could tell like 10 minutes into the game that it didn't matter who won or lost. They were just really trying to like feel each other out because like Ethan Morton was getting a lot of minutes, Waddell was getting a lot of minutes, and like when that happens, you just know like it's not a thing where they're like actively trying to like blow a team out of the water or like make sure they win the game for like some kind of confidence. I think they were just testing out some stuff, which I think is what's going to wind up happening against Kentucky. I just watched the black and gold scrimmage. You know, they were running teams against each other. I will say this about Purdue basketball right now, and I know I talk about them a lot. Clip this, put it on TikTok. Their backup five, whoever that winds up being, is probably a tournament team.
oof, that's dangerous.
It is. I mean, I'm like, I was really, really high on the Purdue 2023 team, Zach Edey's final year. And like I put money on them to win a national title. They got to the doorstep. March is fickle, right? Anything can happen. I don't think I've ever been this high on a Purdue basketball team.
Whoa, that's big. That's gonna feel.
And we're going to talk about some what ifs. We're going to talk about some big what ifs here in a little bit that involve Purdue. But this is the highest I've ever been on a Purdue basketball team.
That's pretty awesome. That's gotta be a scary and good feeling. I've only been there a couple of times as a Tennessee basketball fan, but we're definitely getting there. We're definitely on our way.
As a Tennessee basketball fan, I kind of want you to imagine a scenario here, and I know it's not likely, but you got Nate Ament coming in this year. If Nate Ament takes another year,
Who?
and he plays with Ralph Scott,
That would be just those guys staying would change the game for us.
it would change the complete structure and expectations for Tennessee basketball, which I know for me, like I have high expectations for Tennessee. I know like from a national scale, I don't even think they're cracking top 10s right now. I think they're in like that top 15 range. I think by the end of the year, we're going to see like a 2 or 3 seed come out of Knoxville. Yeah. I'm really high on the Gillespie and Nate Ament combination. I think they got the defensive mindset with Rick Barnes. I know we've talked about it like a million times, but something to be really high on, but something to think about for next year. Is like, that's a what if, right?
For sure.
What if Nate Ament? A future what if? I
mean, that all depends on, I just really think he's built for the league. Like the only reason he would stay, I'm not going to say it, but if something were to happen, but like to him, or he just loves to be at Tennessee and he loves Rick Barnes. And if that's the case, awesome.
Well, Rick Barnes needs to put on his salesman hat and be like, look, I can get you probably about $5 million. I
was about to say he can make some cash. I think he has the potential of being on every commercial and being on every ad that you'll see here in Knoxville. So, and apparently he's a great kid. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about him. So.
Community loves him so far.
Yeah, very, very high standard of character on this team, and that's a Ray Barnes squad for sure. So I know we talked about Purdue, we talked about what ifs, and you teased that there are some other mentions of Purdue throughout this podcast. I think we got to kick off with this one. Let's talk about old Robbie, the big Robbie. What if he wasn't hurt?
So that this what if actually goes to the year he was hurt. I think Purdue was ranked number 3 at the time, and I think they were marching towards a number 1. And it was getting late in the year. I think we were in like February. It was at Minnesota, and Robbie Hummel blew out his knee. This was like, for a Purdue fan, this was our highest expectation for our Final Four that we had since Big Dog. And the Big Dog tournament era did not pan out really well for us. I think we had a second round loss his first year, and the second year, I think we made it to the Sweet 16, something like that, and it just did not pan out. Robbie Hummel, E'Twaun Moore, Juwan Johnson, the Baby Boilers, 2010, 2000 or 2009, 2000. They had a rocket strapped to their ass heading to the moon. I mean, they were team. They were fun to watch. Everything that they were doing was clicking. We were like marching towards our first number one ranking overall. We had a one line locked up almost. Just absolutely heartbreaking. And then what transpired over the course of the next season, I mean, like he was in a practice gearing up for the next year where we still had some high expectations and once again blew out a knee. I mean, it
I think
was,
it was the first practice. I feel like when I was
yeah,
reading kind of research, I think it said it was the first one, which is even, I mean, that is awful.
like I think we would have been a Final Four team that year competing for a national title.
I think so too. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't,
Yeah,
or they
that
shouldn't have.
for a Purdue fan, I remember like it took me years to be able to watch a game at Minnesota game. Like anytime Purdue played at Minnesota, it's like I don't want to see that court again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But yeah, that's a good one, and that is I mean, really, that's the epitome of a what if situation.
Yeah.
Because I think it could have been much different.
Yeah, and like I know like we'll do this in a way where it makes TikTok, right? Because we get some engagement from fans, especially with Purdue. So
Mhm.
Purdue fans, imagine this scenario: 2009, 2010 season. Robbie Hummel goes to the bench right before he makes that cut against Minnesota, and they ride it out with some backups.
Mhm.
What are our expectations that year? Are we winning a national title? If his knees stay healthy, do we go back-to-back Final Fours in 2010, 2011 season? Let us know what you think, because me as a Purdue fan watching that, like, hell, it took me 7 years to graduate Purdue. I was still very much involved with the Boilers right there. So let me know what you guys think, because that was big. It was heartbreaking for me. It took me a while to get over it.
Yeah, I wonder how Megan feels about how that went down.
Well, Megan purged all Purdue memories when she went to the FDU game. So
Gosh, that's right. It's like a
yeah,
weird portal thing that happened.
yeah, Megan.
All right. So I think another big what if, and I've been thinking about this one all week because this one really stuck out to me. But it's when Brad Stevens jumped
Yeah,
and went to the Celtics. I remember getting that notification on my phone and thinking, well, I mean, that's awesome. I like Brad Stevens, and I love to see him moving up to the league and a huge franchise like the Celtics. But Brad Stevens being an NBA coach? Then I got to really think, I don't know that fits. I don't see that how that would work.
yeah. So it was.
And
It's funny to say this because like remember it like it was yesterday. They had that Final Four run, the first Final Four run,
right.
where I think they beat Kentucky and Michigan State in back-to-back games. They beat Kentucky to get to the Final Four and beat
Yep.
Michigan State to get to the national title game. And then I went to the national title game that year. And that was in Indianapolis. That was the Cameron Crazies on one side and like a handful of
Nice.
handful of Butler student section folks, but the entire arena was Butler fans, except for the Cameron Crazies. So it
Yeah.
was like very much a home environment. And Gordon Hayward had that last second shot that kind of rimmed out from half court, which would have been like movie theater level cinema stuff, right?
Sure.
And then the next year, Brad Stevens coaches this team back to the Final Four. I mean, they didn't have Gordon Hayward, but they had a much worse team that he was able to navigate to another Final Four and national title game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he was on everybody's radar, and I'm actually surprised he could have gone anywhere and then wound up going to the Celtics. And how many years did he coach before he became like president of basketball operations there or something like that?
It was only like 4 or 5 years, I feel like.
Yeah,
It
as a
wasn't. It
media
wasn't.
executive. Like Butler since then, I mean, has just been completely irrelevant from a basketball standpoint. I mean, the Hinkle Fieldhouse is always a fun place to go, but they're just like,
Thad Matta's there, right?
yeah, Thad Matta's there, but yeah, Thad Matta, ever since he got canned from Ohio State, nobody really cares about him. I mean, like the cool thing about going to a Butler game now is seeing Greg Oden on the sidelines.
Yeah. Greg Oden. Oh, that's a name. Hey, that could be it. Well, not a big what if. It's just what didn't. Just what didn't happen. Of course, I think he was banged up pretty good, but that's I don't think he could ever stay healthy. But
No.
I read or I was listening to a podcast that was talking about this Brad Stevens, him leaving, and apparently, don't quote me on this, but I believe that they said that the last contract that he signed with Butler would have the last year of that contract would have been this year.
Wow.
I don't know that I'm pretty sure that's true. I think it was most of the podcast we talked about earlier.
Sleepers?
No,
Field of
the
68?
CBS.
On college basketball.
Yes, I think it was them that they talked about this in their series they did, like the top 25 or top stories from the past 25 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
They talked about that on there, and I was like, that is kind of a wild thing to think about for his contract to end this year after all these years. And I think they've mentioned on here, and I've said this before too, when Roy Williams was done at North Carolina, I think that Brad Stevens, that would have been the only place he would have jumped, because Brad Stevens loved Butler, still loves Butler. I think he, he could have left that next year. I mean,
Yeah.
he could have taken any job he wanted.
Any job.
But yeah, it's just still an odd deal, and for Brad Stevens to move up in that exec role, and I mean, it's just kind of it's just a different trajectory from any other coach that we've seen.
Right.
I mean, there might be some that obviously there's been that exec roles. Phil Jackson gave his attempt, and Larry Bird and all that, but that was after years of coaching or years of playing. And Brad Stevens, he just kind of does things the way he wants to do them.
Yeah, I mean, he's been successful. He's got an NBA title.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. Now, you're doing it in Boston. Boston wins an NBA title at least once a decade. So,
Feels that way.
yeah.
Yes, for sure. All right. Here's another one. And I feel like this gets not missed, but forgotten. But Kenyon Martin, if he hadn't broken his leg the 2000 Conference USA tournament, different ball game for so many reasons. Not only for him and the trajectory of his career, which he still had a wonderful career.
Yeah,
in,
he did.
in the next level, but still unfinished business. That still has to irk him to no end. And I think they still probably feel those pains today.
Oh yeah. So this is we're going back to like mid-major success stories and all that stuff. Kenyon Martin was just like, he was the guy.
Unbelievable. So good.
We're gonna piss some folks off if they're watching.
They'll tell us. They'll tell us. We can handle it.
Conference tournaments to me are just, unless you're like in this, Kenyon Martin probably needed to be playing in a conference tournament. But like conference tournaments are just so like, it's like, if you're a lock to make a tournament,
it's like a necessary evil.
Why
Almost.
play in these damn things? Like, it's like when I was watching the conference tournaments last year, and like we were all worried about Braden Smith's work rate because he was pumping in 40 minutes a game. And how he talked about it just the other day on college basketball was he wants to play every minute, but it's just like, bro, you playing in this tournament is not gonna better produce seeding. Like, so just get some rest. And like, same thing with Kenyon Martin here. Like, he's 47 years old now, right? So, 25 years ago, 22-year-old kid, it just didn't seem necessary. But again, it's like, woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? So,
and I mean, they were 28-2 going into the postseason.
Yeah.
Cincinnati was that year. I mean, that's big time. And honestly, I think, like, I remember that happening, but I don't think I remembered how good Cincinnati was until after doing some of this research. Like, it made it even more clear and kind of put things in color for me for that situation.
Yeah, it was 3 minutes into the game. That's the other part. It was just like they go on to lose that game. They go on to lose the first game out in the tournament because Kenyon Martin's not there. And it just completely derailed the program.
It really did. I mean, and that really it's just unfortunate. Again, thankfully, he was able to have a really solid professional career, and his time at the Nets in his prime, those were fun years. They gave the Spurs a hell of a time a couple of times, but
he wound up going number 1 overall, right?
Ooh, that's a great. For some reason that doesn't feel right.
Let me see. I'm gonna look that up because this is worth looking. Selected first overall in the NBA draft by the New Jersey Nets.
Wow. That's interesting because
his numbers are retired too at Cincinnati.
And what should be. I mean, no, that is one of the things too, like, they end up losing, who was the coach of the team that they lost to? The Cincinnati ended up losing to.
I can't remember.
I forgot about this as well, but after scoring a first-round victory over UNC Wilmington, the Bearcats lost 69-61 to Tulsa, a number 1 seed coached by your favorite person, Bill Self.
Oof. Why did I know that was coming?
That's crazy. I forgot that. Gosh, that was a long time ago. Sorry, we're showing. That's wild.
Speaking of Bill Self and controversial coaches,
Whew,
here's another good what if. The Memphis 2000,
man.
they completely forgot how to shoot free throws in a national title game.
Unbelievable.
Now, we're going to talk about that and see what free throws would have meant to this team. But then I got some trivia for you.
Okay. Well, first off, that 2018 was special. They were the best team in the country, hands down. But what a Calipari-esque like situation. Like
Right.
just completely negating the fundamentals, but you had all the flash and dash,
At D
and
Rose.
And a great D Rose, like a untampered with D Rose, not where he's hurt and broken down, like just solid, young, so good. Now, of course, as a Tennessee fan, one of the greatest moments of my life is when we beat that team. Wait, no, that was that in 2008? Gosh, we were getting our facts all mixed up. No, yeah.
Well, did you guys play Memphis in 2008?
Because it was when we became number one. It was the first time being number one in the country. But Derrick Rose was obviously a solid leader, too. I feel like that gets missed a lot. But for them to completely have so many chances in the last, seconds. I think it was less than a minute left. And they had, what was it, 4 to 5 free throws to score, and they missed all of them? It's like they tried. You'd think one would at least bounce in. I remember standing up and just being like, no way. Like, this is not happening. Not one would go through. And of course it was to Kansas, which was that with Mario Chalmers? Was that on that team for Kansas?
I don't remember that because I remember something more about that Memphis team that year that kind of like really stamped Calipari and honestly Derrick Rose into like the echelons of basketball history for all the wrong reasons.
Is this the trivia?
Yeah, this is the trivia. So how many games did Memphis win that year?
Gosh, they only lost 1 or 2.
So they won 38 games, but they are all vacated.
Oh, that's right.
So this is where we get into that. Like, so we talk about Self and like, some of the controversies that have happened around him where he's gotten some slaps on the wrist. He's got suspended a couple times. This is like really what stamped Calipari. Like, I think we've actually responded to some comments where he's like, he took Memphis to a national title game. He's like, yeah. And that whole season was vacated because of some academic eligibility questions that have actually followed Calipari. So
UMass.
Yeah. So again, it's almost like there was some legitimacy after this was found about Derrick Rose because there were some fake SAT scores in this year. Memphis was an absolutely dominant team, and Calipari, again, one of the best roster builders.
One of the best recruiters. Yeah.
One of the best recruiters in all of college basketball. X's and O's could not piece together a free throw in the last few minutes of the game to secure a national title. So
yeah.
Wouldn't have mattered anyway, because even if they make those free throws, that title.
That's true. Good point. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. That's a very good point. I didn't think about it like that. That's very true.
When we talked about, I saw that on the list, I was like, I can't wait to talk about this. This is one of my favorite things in the world to talk about is Calipari controversy. So
yeah, and it's funny how Kentucky, I feel like they felt they were too good and they had such a higher moral high ground than to hire Calipari, but I guess they can see things through those big blue lenses and things look a little different, and they're willing to be a little bit more lenient. And really, it's just sad that Calipari has been allowed to destroy 2 programs.
Yeah.
UMass, of course, I know that's small ball, but still, nonetheless, it's a big deal. And Memphis, that has the best talent in the state, right there. And put together a great squad just couldn't seal the deal.
Yep.
It really is a shame in terms of college basketball, but it doesn't hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? I don't lose sleep over it, that's for sure.
Yeah, same here for sure.
I think this one was provided by Jake.
Yes.
He slipped this one in on our agenda, but he wanted to point out the what if Davies didn't have sex and missed the NCAA tournament in 2011 with Jimmer.
Look, we just mentioned Ion College basketball. I am like one of the biggest Gary Parrish fans. He's 50% Boiler. So one of his opening lines is where, we talk about Leaky Black and all that fun stuff. And then he says, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. You have consent. This is one of the big what ifs. That BYU team was just absolutely stacked. There was magic in that team. Jimmer Fredette, wherever he's at right now, he was within range of wherever he was playing. That was an absolute fantastic team, a fantastic run. You add Brandon Davies to the mix of that, and that is a national title team. That is, we're talking about that team as one of the most fun all-time basketball teams in the history of the NCAA tournament. We're just talking about Loyola, some magical runs there. NC State a couple years ago with their Cinderella run, obviously, like the St. Peter's. Again, heartbreak for Purdue. BYU was a lot better than those teams. Jimmer Fredette was a National Player of the Year. So it wasn't like anybody was shocked that they were doing this, but they weren't one of those power names that everybody always talks about every year, like Kentucky, like your Dukes, like your North Carolinas, your UConns, Kansas, stuff like that. That team was just an absolute juggernaut. And with Brandon Davies, sky was the limit.
Well, and I think too, it was interesting because during that time, like you would turn on the Sports Center, it was just Jimmer everywhere. But didn't give a crap about BYU. It was just about Jimmer, what he was able to do. I still think Jimmer would have probably won Player of the Year.
Probably.
Yeah, I think yes. Because I mean he had his way. He was a gamer through and through. But I think the context of the conversation around Jimmer would be much different. If the Davies situation had happened. And I think that made that kind of shifted the focus away from the team and more onto Jimmer. But I mean, Jimmer earned it. I'm not trying to diss the guy, but I think that would have made a little bit of a difference in how that team was perceived, which is unfortunate for the entire team because they were so solid, like you said. Because there's plenty of people who wouldn't even know that. I mean, that's definitely kind of a inside basketball for basketball nerds, but still,
right. But yeah, again, that's one of my favorite lines from Gary Parrish is smash
it's gold.
Brandon Davies and you have consent. What a fantastic line.
Hey, talk about somebody who knows the impact of Memphis basketball, Gary Parrish. He knows, he's lived it, seen it, breathed it, still lives it. I think he still lives in Memphis.
Yeah, he does. I think he's a Grizz fan because he talks about Zach Edey quite a bit.
He does.
I'm like, speaking of college basketball starting here soon, my wife and I took our little kiddo to the Pacers fan jam last Saturday.
Nice.
And this Saturday, we're going to the first preseason home game for Indiana. And it's, again, I came on here a few weeks ago and I was talking about lack of optimism for the Colts, and the Colts have surprised everybody. There's not a lot of optimism about the Pacers right now, so hopefully they come in and shock the world a little bit. But it sounds like McConnell's going to be hurt for a month. They obviously don't have Turner anymore. Halliburton's out for a year, so it's going to be really difficult season for the Pacers. But my buddy Jeff and I were talking, and it's like sacrifice the Phillies loss, sacrifice the White Sox being terrible. My West Ham, my Hammers were god awful. We might get relegated this year. The Blackhawks, I'm a huge Chicago Blackhawks fan. We're 2 games in, we got a point.
Yeah.
We were talking about we would trade the losses from all of our favorite teams for Purdue to win a national title, and then Jake Hunting, where you said the same thing about Tennessee. So,
oh yeah, for sure. But I think you're gonna get your wish. I think you're gonna get it this year.
Knock on wood.
All right. So as we we'll do we can wrap up the what if segment here in a moment, but let's not forget about Klein's.
Yeah.
Basketball. And I know we talked a lot about Purdue, but honestly, let me say this. I am not a Purdue fan. I don't hate them, but I don't really like them either. I respect Matt Painter a lot, and I think the dude is underrated and underappreciated for the way that he coaches and how he's managed coaching. I feel like I've earned the right as a Tennessee fan to say that Purdue, one reason why they're being mentioned so much for this episode is because they've had so many what ifs.
Oh my God.
They've been right there more than most any team that I can think of right now. Like, I really don't know that I could think. If you would have just walked up to me on the street and asked me what team has held the most what if situations in your lifetime, Purdue would be the exact first one that would come to my mind. There's
Yeah,
been so many. We could do it. We could do a whole episode talking about what ifs because of how close they've been
we really
to being
could.
incredible. I mean, and so I feel like I need to throw that in there as someone that's not a Purdue fan, but I can acknowledge the fact that, golly, there's some bad luck, man.
It is not easy being us. So, like, we talk about Purdue, what else? We talked about Robbie Hummel, like two years where Purdue could have done it, and he blows out both knees, right? We talk about, Zach Edey's 2022-2023 team where they lost to FDU. Zach Edey actually put up some numbers, but the rest of Purdue went 0 for the entire freaking night and lost to a 16 seed. Now, my opinion on that team, they were kind of like circling the drain towards the end of the year. They were running out of gas. Personally, I think it was just, having two freshman guards and the season wearing down on them. But the next year, they make it and get to UConn national title game, right? Another what if, Isaac Haas, get
My gosh, dude.
busting his elbow in the first tournament game and
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, so he lives on in infamy for more than one reason at Purdue. So,
man, I forgot about that one.
But yeah, he gets hook and hold and breaks his elbow, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's okay." They have Matt Harms. If you ever watch Purdue basketball, and you knew there were two completely different players. Now, the next season, that Matt Harms team, led by Carson Edwards, snuck past Tennessee to make the Elite Eight.
Yep.
And played Virginia, where it came down to a Ryan Klein free throw. And he makes that free throw, and it changes Purdue's outlook for the next 5-6 years. Here we are still talking about this moment where he misses a free throw after just going absolutely insane against Tennessee. Just absolutely out of his mind, unconscious shooting. Misses just the most clutch free throw in Purdue history. And, miracle shot by Virginia to force overtime. Once overtime started, it was a foregone conclusion. Virginia goes on to win that game by 5, wins a national title. And we talk about the redemption team and like how Purdue was, potentially going to match that from losing to a 16 seed, but just doesn't get the job done. Absolute heartbreak. And like I said, I just mentioned a few of them, and we can go back all the way to the 90s with the big dog era and all that fun stuff. Heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. It's not easy being us.
And it's not even, and I swear I'm not this is not a dig.
No,
it is wild that even in the midst of all of that, there's been enough to get you all to the point of success. It's not like a fluke team here, a fluke team there. Okay, your number one player got hurt. Okay, well then 3 years later you have another relevant team. That's what we've had at Tennessee until the Rick Barnes era, where really Bruce Pearl, then Rick Barnes era. But even Konzo years we had some success. But anyway, it's like it's in the big moments. Like you all got there in a lot of ways, and then it just didn't have just weird stuff, injuries, freak blips, and
losses,
glitches in the matrix.
St. Peter's, FTU, North Texas.
Just crazy stuff like that. Like that's I've that about Purdue, but I think that's all going to come crashing in, and just be a very small little blips there for Matt Painter when he's going to get him a natty this year. So
hopefully,
I think it's going to happen. I feel good about it. I really do.
One thing I'm going to use this platform for just an ounce of engagement, because we could probably put this on TikTok and get like 1 million comments, because Purdue fans have a tendency to just chime in, and I'm going to try to keep this under a minute.
Go for it.
Started about 10 seconds ago. We could probably edit some of this out.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of rumblings about the Purdue starting 5 this year. So the locks right now, according to God and everybody, is TKR, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Oscar Clough. And they've been talking about this 5th guy. A lot of people want it to be Omer. A lot of people want it to be CJ Cox. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about Jakari Harris. I know we just talked about Big Dog, and this is Big Dog's son. Which
is awesome, by the way. I love that. I think that's such a cool. I love it.
based
But
on
it's in the
everything I'm
feels.
seeing and hearing, Jakari Harris is the guy. So I want,
Really?
Purdue fans, chime in. I want to hear what you guys think. Who should be the number 5? Who should be the 5 starters? If you disagree with any of mine, if you disagree with the top 3, go do something else.
About the same.
Go find another good.
That's right. Yes. No, those 3 are in stone. That's happening. Sorry, my chair. I keep rolling away. No, those 3 are definitely solid. That's awesome to hear. And how big is he? Is he as big as his dad is? Or
No,
was?
no. He's like, I think Jakari Harris is like 6'3".
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna look that up. He is 6'3", 210 pounds. I think Big Dog was what, 6'7".
I always felt like he just seemed so much bigger to me, like bigger than that.
It's
He played
because
bigger.
he was so like his game. Let me see here. He was, and of course they called him Big Dog, so he probably sounded, he was 6'7", 6'7", 240 pounds. Honestly, God, if you really think about it, he wasn't that much bigger than I am right now.
Yeah,
But
that's
just
crazy.
built like a brick shit house, athletic, could get to the basket, could shoot threes, could just muscle people out, was just an absolute beast. So
Yeah, for sure. And if you don't know who we're talking about, go spend a minute on YouTube. The dude could play, and again, I feel like he's one of the more underrated guys in college basketball, in terms of college basketball lore.
yeah, before Zach Edey won back-to-back National Players of the Year, he was our only National Player of the Year. I mean, now that
That's
I could be
wild.
wrong. He was only National Player of the Year in the last 30 years. We could say that.
Yeah, which is even that's still kind of nuts to think about
Yeah.
from a Purdue standpoint. But I just thought of one. Okay, let me stick this in. This was not on the agenda, but I do feel like it's something that could be interesting to think about. And since we've given so much love to Purdue, what if Bob Knight hadn't gotten fired from Indiana? What would have? What could have? What could have? What would have? I mean, he still had a squad there. Like, he was still relatively relevant.
He would have won the national title in, I think it was 2002. Was that the year that
Oh my gosh, was it really? Well, yeah.
Mike Davis took his team to the national title against Maryland?
That's right.
That was right after
Dude.
Bobby Knight had been fired. They would have won that national title. And then IU fans that I know who are like roughly, 35 years old that still talk about 5 banners would have actually like lived through one.
Yeah, so 2000 is when he was fired.
Yeah, so Mike Davis took the went to the 2002 national title game, right?
I think that's right. That sounds right in my head. Hang on a second. So 2000, you said it'd be 2002.
I think it was that. I'm looking it up right now too, where we can edit the part where
Against Maryland.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, they
Juan
beat top seed Duke to get to the Final Four.
Gosh, that's wild. I hadn't thought about that situation in forever. But it hit me. I was like, this is one of those, I think that's a big what if.
That is a huge what if. Tom Coverdale lost his absolute mind. He was a national hero in Indiana for like a year after that. I think they got curb stomped by Maryland. I can't remember what was the final score of that IU versus Maryland game. I want to see what the score was here.
I know, I'm trying to find it. No, that can't be right. Indiana versus
54
Maryland.
to 52.
Okay.
And
so,
it wasn't that close. So we were talking about what if Bobby Knight doesn't get fired, IU basketball wins the 2002 national title game.
I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, that was a whole Bob Knight situation was crazy. And I know that everybody could say that what's his name was a punk and he was an asshole kid anyway, but you can't joke a kid. And he also had plenty of opportunity. Like, there were other things where his conduct, he was not carrying himself very well.
Look, clip this. I'm going to say something that's very old school because I was raised by an old school dad. Bobby Knight turned boys into men. And his love was tough. Yeah, it crossed the line sometimes, but like he also got, kids to the promised land. He got them to national titles. He got them to like the next level. He was a great coach, a great mentor, great person to learn from, both good and bad.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of not good things about Bobby Knight, but I think the good outweighs the bad with this dude. There was a coaches poll here recently, like Canny coaches poll, which, like, by the way, Purdue and Matt Painter cleaned up on, but one of them was like, who would you send your son to go play for? And like a lot of folks like selected Matt Painter and Tom Izzo, like that was the number 1 and number 2 choice. For me as a dad, Like, I would send my kid to play for Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
I went to Bobby Knight's camps. I've met Bobby Knight while he was still alive. Hell, I bowled with his son, Pat Knight.
Really?
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Woodland bowling. So a little plug
That's
there.
funny.
Yeah, I think he teaches kids, or he taught kids how to be men.
Yeah,
And that's something that's kind of lost in today's world.
for sure. I feel like Saban was that way too in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, but
Oh, very
I
much
mean,
so.
just that tough love, but so damn smart and so intuitive. And I think having a lot of advice about life and to make those boys into men, as you say. And I think it's very, very true. But I think Bob Knight had his chances to straighten up, I guess,
Yeah.
and he didn't, and that bit him. I think that's an example, and I feel like that's without. I know. Long story short, I do feel like that the way he carried himself on a broadcast post that situation really. I feel like he regretted a lot of that. I think he
I don't know if he regretted anything. I think
really maybe
it's
not regret, but I think that I mean, I do think he wishes his career ended differently than it did.
yes, 100%.
Maybe that's a better way of putting it. I mean,
Yeah.
but because I always felt like that with it in his broadcast because I loved when he would broadcast a game because I'm just like eating it up
Yes.
because he would see things that nobody else would, and I mean, this is not a comparison, but how I feel when I'm watching like the Manning cast or even Tony Romo when he's calling a football game, where I don't know as much about the game of football, but in basketball, I mean, Bob Knight would just drop gem after gem knowledge and pointing things out that you wouldn't even think of when you watch a broadcast. Like you could learn basketball from watching one of his broadcasts.
It's funny you say that because that's why I love watching Robbie Hummel call games.
Yeah, great call out, 1000%. Does a great job.
Yep.
Does a great job.
Brad, we are getting the eye from the coach, but
He keeps looking over here, and I don't know that I'm ready, but we got to do our job.
before we go out and do our job, I've got one more what if.
Let's hear it.
And this is as a Purdue fan who is
Okay.
honest with himself.
Okay.
What if they don't call that phantom foul call when Carson Edwards is taking a 3 to send Purdue to the Elite Eight against Tennessee?
Yeah, that might have been. I mean, that would have been our. Let's see. That'd been our second Elite Eight appearance. We would have gone to the Final Four that year.
You would have beat Virginia.
Yeah, I feel very confident in that. Was that Tony Bennett's last year?
I think so.
Or one of the closest, one of the two. Like it was close, but anyway, the reason I say this because I think that Virginia was played pretty vulnerable at times. But no, 100%. I would put my money on that that would be our only a Final Four appearance if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember I remember watching. I remember what restaurant I was at watching that game, and how many things I said in public that I shouldn't have. I went to church the next day. Very rough, very rough. But what a weak ass call. What do we? I mean, that was rough. I don't care what game it was. When a call like that's made to impacts a game of that caliber, that means so much. That just sucks.
Yeah. So I was watching that game with Jake, and
Yeah, that's
Purdue was curb stomping Tennessee for most of that game, and then Tennessee just went on this like crazy run. And after everything that was happening, for the refs to get involved was just like shocking.
Yep.
Carson Edwards had free throws to win it. I mean, they could have just put it away right there. And then when we went in overtime, Purdue went back to what was working in the first, 30 minutes of that game. But I was watching that game with Jake. I had to watch Purdue win in another room because I felt sick to my stomach about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will never forget, and I've said this before on the podcast, I will never forget Carson Edwards. I never will. I mean, he'll be stuck in my memory for forever.
Yeah. Although Ryan Klein was the one to remember in that game. Ryan Klein just.
And it's just that moment, though. I could picture it. That is just burned in my brain.
Yeah.
I mean, Klein was the star of the show.
Yeah.
For sure. Like,
but
so good.
Carson Edwards getting a phantom call.
Yeah. But this should never happen. But woulda, shoulda, coulda. But what is definitely happening is we are getting called to clean up our boys' mess. We are on the wrong side of a win. We are getting our asses beat. But we still gotta go look nice, look pretty, and finish things out. So now it's time for your favorite human victory cigars to go do our job.
Yep. See you at the next blowout, folks.
And if you made it this far, you're already part of the bench mob. So hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more chaos. Bench Points is on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you pretend to know ball.